The night was heavy with smoke and rot. The kind of air that clung to the skin and burned the nose. The kind of air that reminded the poor that they were forgotten. She moved slowly, her thin hands digging into piles of broken bags, rusted cans and old food that stank worse than death. Her skin, once bright with the glow of her people, had dulled to a gray-pale shade. Hunger had taken everything, her strength, her pride, even her voice. Still she searched. For she was not searching for herself, but for the tiny figure beside her. Her child sat on the cold ground, knees pulled to the chest, thin arms shaking with the chill of the night. The child's eyes were wide and hollow, glowing faintly in the dark, watching the mother's every movement. No words came from the child, only the small sound of hunger, the whimper that cut into the mother's chest like a knife. Every time her fingers touched something, her heart leapt. Maybe food, maybe something to fill the small stomach. But every time she pulled her hand back, it was only disappointment. Rotten fruit crawling with worms, bones picked clean, or paper soaked in things she could not name. Still she kept looking. She could not stop. Above the trash heap the city lights glared, high towers of the rich glowing in the distance, shining bright while the poor sat in the dirt. No one from up there would ever walk here. No one from there even admitted this place existed. To them, the poor aliens were only shadows, things to be swept away. The mother's breath came sharp, her body weak, but her heart refused to stop. She thought of her child's eyes, of the sound of the little stomach growling, and she clawed deeper into the filth. Her hands cut on glass, blood mixing with the black water. She winced but kept going. Footsteps echoed near the edge of the heap. She froze, eyes snapping toward the sound. Fear spread through her chest. If the guards saw her again, there would be punishment. They had told her before that aliens like her were not allowed to touch human waste, not allowed to scavenge in their trash. It was not for her kind, it was shameful, they said. Still, she had no choice. The footsteps faded, and she let out a breath. Her child had curled deeper into the old cloth they used as a blanket. Shivering, the mother whispered a soft word in her native tongue, a sound like a lullaby, though it carried no warmth. She hated that her child's life was reduced to this, trash heaps and fear. Then her hand brushed against something heavy. She pulled it out quickly, and her heart jumped. A half loaf of bread. Old, but still bread. Her hands shook as she looked at it. Turning it over, the crust was hard, cracked, but the inside still smelled of something almost fresh. Her eyes filled with tears. But before she could bring it to her child, a loud voice shouted from the side, "Hey, get away from there!" Her body tensed. She clutched the bread close, as if it were life itself. The guards were coming. Heavy boots hitting the ground. The mother looked around, panic flooding her. If they took the bread away, her child would go another night hungry. She pulled her child close, pressing the bread against the small hands. "Eat quickly," she whispered. Her child's eyes lit up with confusion and joy, small teeth biting into the hard loaf, chewing even though it hurt. The sound of boots grew louder, closer. She held her child tighter, shielding the little one with her thin body. The trash heap around them seemed to grow darker, the stench stronger, the night colder, every sound sharper, like the world itself wanted to break them. The mother lifted her eyes for a moment to the high towers shining in the distance, and she thought, do they even know we exist? Do they even care? The guards stopped nearby, voices mocking, cruel laughter echoing. She did not dare move. The child chewed quickly. Hiding the bread in tiny hands, the mother kept her head down, waiting for blows, waiting for the pain. But nothing came, not yet. Instead, she felt another presence. Different, quieter, not like the guards. A shadow stood a short distance away, watching, not moving. She did not know if it was danger or hope, but her body trembled as the child ate. Her heart beat fast, caught between fear and a strange spark of something else. Something she had not felt in a very long time. It was only the trash heap, only the hunger, only the dark night. Yet somewhere in that darkness, something was about to change. The night stretched on like an endless shadow. The mother sat close to her child, holding the little body against her chest. The half loaf of bread had been eaten too quickly, as if fear itself had swallowed it. Now only crumbs were left, pressed into the child's hands, and still the hunger remained. The child's stomach growled again. A sound too loud in the silence, the mother closed her eyes, wishing she could silence the pain, wishing she could tear her own heart out and feed it if it would stop the cry. Then it came, the sound she dreaded. The cry of her child, thin, sharp, broken, It was not just a cry for food. It was a cry for life, for warmth, for safety. The sound carried through the trash heap, echoing against rusted metal and cracked stone. The mother's arms tightened, her lips whispering words to calm the little one. But the cry would not stop. Hunger could not be calmed with empty arms. The guards laughed when they heard it. Their voices carried from a distance, mocking and cruel. "Listen to the alien brat, starving like a rat," one of them shouted. The mother bowed her head lower, hiding her child's face in her shoulder. Fear mixed with shame. Shame that should not belong to her. Shame that belonged to those who let children starve. Still she rocked the child gently, humming in a broken tune. Her own stomach growled too, twisting with pain. But she forced herself to ignore it. It was the child that mattered. Always the child. Every cry cut deeper. Every sound of hunger a blade across her soul. Her hands shook, not from the cold alone, but from the helplessness. The trash heap around them was silent except for rats and flies. Even they seemed to look at her with pity. The city above shone with its false light. Music and laughter drifting faintly from far-off streets where the rich lived. There was no cry of hunger there, no sound of empty stomachs. The difference was like a wound she could never heal. Her child's cry grew louder, desperate, the little body trembling. The mother pressed her forehead to the child's, whispering, "Just a little longer, my heart. Just a little longer." But she had no promise to give, no food to offer. The truth was bitter. There might not be a tomorrow if no one helped them. Then suddenly footsteps echoed again. Different this time. Slower. Steady. Not the quick stomp of guards. The mother stiffened, clutching her child. Her eyes darted toward the sound. A shadow moved closer, tall, broad, silent. The cry had called someone. She did not know if it was doom or mercy. The child, sensing the presence, grew quiet for a moment, hiccuping softly in her arms. The mother's heart pounded. She was ready to run, though she had no strength left, ready to fight. Though she had no weapon, ready to beg. Though pride burned inside her, she waited, her breath sharp. The figure stepped closer, into the dim light of a broken lamp. It was a man, a human. His clothes were simple, torn at the edges, not like the shining uniforms of the guards or the rich coats of the towers. His face was hard, lined by years of struggle. But his eyes were steady. They did not shine with cruelty. They carried something else, something she had not seen in too long. Concern. The child whimpered again, the cry returning. The man stopped, his eyes locking onto the little one. The sound seemed to strike him, for his jaw tightened, and his hands curled into fists at his side. The mother pulled her child closer, whispering, "Please, we mean no harm." Her voice shook. Weak, she expected him to shout, to order her away. But the man said nothing for a long time. He only stood watching the mother and child, watching the hunger written on their bodies. The cry had reached him in a way words never could. His silence was heavy, not with anger, but with thought. The mother waited, trembling. Finally, the man reached into the bag slung over his shoulder. Her breath caught. Was it a weapon? Was this the end? But no. His hand came out holding something small, wrapped in cloth. He crouched slowly, his movements calm, deliberate, as if he did not want to frighten them. He set it on the ground between them. Bread? Newer than the one she had found. Not fresh, but not yet spoiled. The smell reached her child first. The little one's eyes lit up. Small hands reaching before the mother could stop them. The child tore into it hungrily, crumbs falling like rain. The mother's eyes filled with tears. She looked at the man, words stuck in her throat. He only nodded as if no words were needed. His eyes stayed on the child, and for a brief moment she saw pain in his face. Pain that looked too much like memory. The cry faded, replaced by the sound of chewing. The night seemed softer for a moment, quieter. The mother's hand shook as she stroked her child's hair. Relief mixing with fear. Who was this man? Why would he help in this city? Kindness was rarer than gold, rarer than mercy. But tonight mercy had come, called by the hungry cry of a child. The night was heavy, thick with the smell of trash and damp metal. The mother watched her child nibble the stolen bread, crumbs falling onto her clothes. But relief had barely touched her before new worry crept in. Who was this man, and why did he help? She did not trust kindness in this city, not when every hand seemed ready to steal. To push, to crush, the man stood a few steps away, his eyes never leaving the child. The shadows played across his face, making him look both familiar and strange at once. His presence was quiet but heavy, like a storm waiting behind calm clouds. The mother wanted to ask questions, to understand, but words seemed small in the cold night. Her child finished the bread, licked fingers clean, and then crawled back into her lap, the little arms clutching her tightly. Hunger had not gone, but for now the immediate danger had. The mother's body relaxed a little, but her mind raced. Something about this man told her he had power. Not the kind from wealth or guns, but the kind that could bend a situation, protect, even change fate. She finally found her voice. Trembling, soft. Who are you? Her words sounded fragile, like they might shatter. The man did not answer immediately. Instead, he crouched low, coming closer to their level. His eyes scanned the surroundings. The piles of trash, the distant lights of the city. My name is Kalen, he said finally. Voice rough but calm. I saw your child, and I knew you needed help. The mother blinked, unsure. Why? Why would you care? The words spilled out, harsh, bitter. They carried years of pain and mistrust. Kalen's eyes softened, and for a moment, the hard lines of his face seemed to fade. Because I know what it's like, he said simply, to be hungry. To watch someone you love suffer, to feel invisible in a world that does not care. Her heart beat faster, hope and fear twisting inside her. Was he telling the truth, or was this another trap? But the calm in his eyes, the steady way he breathed, the small kindness of bringing bread, it felt real. More real than anything in this city for years. The trash heap around them seemed smaller now. The noises, the rats, the wind, the dripping water, were less threatening with Kalen there. He motioned her to step back slightly, and carefully removed a small lantern from his bag. Its light was weak but warm, painting the trash and metal in golden hues. The mother hesitated, then allowed herself to breathe again. Kalen's hands were steady as he opened another small package. Inside were clean rations, wrapped in protective paper. Take these, he said. They will last you a few days. His tone carried no judgment, no lecture, only quiet authority. The mother accepted the rations with trembling hands, her eyes never leaving his face. Her child clung to her, sensing the shift. Yet too hungry to notice fear, I don't have anything to give you, she said at last, her voice tiny, ashamed. Her pride whispered that she should have something, even if only words, but Kalen shook his head, a small smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. You have your courage, your love, and your child, he said. That is more than many have. Her lips parted, ready to argue, ready to say that it was not enough. But she stopped for the first time in many nights. She felt a flicker of trust, delicate but real. A stranger had seen her, really seen her, and had chosen to help without asking for gold, or work, or anything in return. The sound of distant guards reminded her where they were. The danger was still close. But Kalen's shadow stretched over her and her child, a shield she could almost feel. We need to move, he said quietly. This place is not safe for you tonight or the nights after. The mother nodded. Swallowing her fear, she had no choice but to follow. Yet a strange comfort rested in the thought that someone was willing to walk beside her. Even if only for a little while, she rose, her child in her arms, and followed Kalen through the maze of trash and broken metal. Each step was careful, silent, shadows twisting around them like ghosts. Her eyes darted constantly, scanning for threats. But his shadow guided her, steady and certain. He did not rush, did not push, only led with calm authority. As they moved, she stole glances at him, noting the scars on his hands, the dirt under his nails, the way his eyes never left hers for long. They were a map of someone who had lived, fought, and survived. Someone who carried experience in each line of his face. And yet, despite it all, had offered mercy, something she had almost forgotten existed. For the first time in a long while, hope felt possible. Fragile as glass, but glimmering. She tightened her grip on her child and whispered softly, Maybe someone still cares. Kalen's shadow moved alongside them, a silent promise in the darkness, and for now that was enough. The cold air bit at her skin as they walked, broken glass crunching softly beneath their feet. The mother kept her child close, her eyes flicking between the shadows and the tall figure ahead of her. Kalen, the human. She still didn't understand why he was helping them, but something about him made her keep walking. There was no anger in his steps, no cruelty in his voice, only a quiet purpose. They passed under broken lights and rusted metal beams, through alleyways that smelled of oil, blood, and forgotten people, the kind of places where no one dared go after nightfall. Her people used to live in bright cities long before the war. But now they crawled through trash while their children starved. Her child had fallen asleep in her arms, cheek resting softly against her chest. Breathing shallow but peaceful for the first time in days. That small breath gave her strength, even as her legs burned with exhaustion. Finally, Kalen stopped. He turned toward a large, half-collapsed structure at the edge of the district. The metal door had been painted over so many times that its color was lost. One corner hung crooked, revealing a dark space behind it. "In here," he said softly. The mother hesitated, fear gripping her throat. She had been tricked before, chased before. She stepped back a little, her body tensing. Kalen saw her eyes and nodded slowly. "I live here alone," he said. "You don't have to come in if you don't want to." That simple sentence, no pressure, no demand, softened something in her heart. Slowly, carefully, she stepped through the broken doorway. Her feet crossed into the dark, warm air inside. It was not much, but it was more than she expected. A single room. Walls lined with old panels and salvaged blankets. A heat unit hummed softly in the corner, patched together with wires and parts she didn't recognize. The floor was clean, even if the walls were cracked. There was a table made of scrap metal, a small stove, and in one corner, a narrow mattress with 2 old pillows. Kalen moved ahead, setting down his bag on the table. He didn't speak, didn't explain. He just lit a small lamp that filled the room with soft orange light. It cast long shadows across the walls, making the room feel safe, almost like home. The mother sat down slowly, her knees weak. Her child stirred but didn't wake. She cradled the little one closer. Rocking gently, her eyes wandered the room, every detail strange and yet peaceful. Kalen opened a drawer and pulled out 2 small blankets. He placed one beside her and said, "For the child." She accepted it wordlessly, wrapped the warm cloth around the small body in her arms. Her fingers brushed the fabric. It was soft, real, not the kind stolen from trash heaps. "You built this?" she finally asked, surprised at her own voice. Kalen gave a small nod. "Piece by piece," he said. "I used to be an engineer. Before things changed," that word, changed, carried weight. He didn't explain more, and she didn't ask. But in his eyes, she saw the truth. He too had lost something, maybe everything. He reached into a small cupboard and pulled out a container of soup. The scent of vegetables and spice filled the air as he warmed it on the stove. The smell made her stomach twist with hunger. But she stayed still when the soup was ready. He poured it into 2 metal cups, one larger, one smaller. He handed her the small one first. She looked at him in disbelief. I can't take this," she whispered. "You already did," he said. "The moment you walked in." She held the cup with shaking hands, lifted it to her lips, and drank. The warmth spread through her body like fire, not burning but healing. It had been so long since she had eaten something warm. Her child woke up slowly, eyes blinking, drawn by the smell. Kalen handed the second cup to the little one, who smiled for the first time in days. She couldn't stop the tears. They slid down her cheeks without permission, quiet and slow. "I don't understand," she said finally. "Why are you helping us? You don't even know our names." Kalen looked at her, his face unreadable for a moment. Then he said, "Because someone once helped me when I had nothing, and because if no one helps, then what's the point of surviving at all?" The room grew quiet again, but this time, it was not an empty silence. It was a silence filled with meaning. The child finished the soup, climbed into the blanket, and drifted to sleep on the corner of the mattress. The mother sat beside her little one, her eyes still watching Kalen, not with fear now, but something closer to trust. Kalen sat by the stove, staring into the small flame. He didn't say anything else that night, and neither did she. But something had changed in that quiet room. 2 broken souls had crossed paths in the dark, and in that moment they were no longer alone. The next morning came slow and silent. The trash district didn't have real sunrises, just a slow gray glow rising behind the towers that blocked the sky. The air was thick with smoke again, but inside the broken shelter, warmth still clung to the corners like a soft promise. The alien mother opened her eyes slowly, her body sore but rested. Her child still slept beside her. Tiny fingers curled around the edge of the blanket Kalen had given. For the first time in weeks, the child had not cried through the night. She sat up quietly and looked around the room. Kalen was already awake, sitting by the small stove with a tool in hand, repairing something made of wires and metal. His face was calm, focused, but his eyes flicked toward her when she moved. You slept, he said, voice low but firm. That's good, she nodded, unsure what to say. There were too many emotions tangled inside her. Gratefulness, confusion, fear, even trust, but none of them felt safe yet. She had lived too long in a world where kindness had a price. Kalen stood and handed her a small package. It's not much, he said. But there's some dried fruit and grain. You and the little one need strength. She took it with trembling hands. Thank you, she whispered. Again, he shrugged like it didn't matter. But his eyes softened. They ate quietly, the little girl waking with a yawn and a smile that melted her mother's heart. The child reached for the food like a flower leaning toward the sun. And for once, she didn't have to fight for it. But peace never lasted long in places like this. A sudden knock hit the door hard and fast, not gentle, not friendly. The mother froze, instinct tightening her chest. Kalen didn't move immediately. He stood slowly, motioned for them to stay silent, and approached the door with careful steps. Open up. A deep voice barked from outside. Kalen paused, then opened the door just a crack. A man stood there in a guard's half-uniform, shoulders wide, face sharp with suspicion. We had reports, he said coldly. Someone saw you talking to a trash scavenger last night. Kalen didn't blink. I speak to many people, he said flatly. What's the crime in that? The guard leaned in, trying to look past Kalen's shoulder. She's an alien, isn't she? A crawler with one of those freak kids? You know the rules. Feeding them is the same as sheltering fugitives. The mother held her child tighter, ducking behind a broken cabinet. Her heart pounded like war drums. Her child whimpered softly. Sensing danger, Kalen stepped forward, blocking the man's view. You come to accuse me based on rumors? He said, voice calm but sharp. You think I hide people here in this pile of rust and ash? The guard narrowed his eyes. We know what you used to be, Kalen, he hissed. You were one of the builders, an old tech mind. You think we don't know you're helping those things? Kalen's eyes darkened. You should leave, he said, his voice suddenly like steel, not raised but heavy. There's nothing for you here. The guard took a step back. Uncertain, he looked around, spat on the ground, and growled. If I see her in the open again, I'll put a bullet between her alien eyes. No warnings next time. He turned and stormed off into the street, boots thudding with angry weight. Kalen closed the door slowly, locked it, and leaned against the frame. His shoulders sagged for the first time, like the weight had finally reached him. The mother stood, her breath still shaking. You stood up to him, she said. You risked yourself. Kalen didn't look at her right away. They watch everything now, he said quietly. They fear what they don't understand. So they make rules to break the weak. She stepped forward. He could have hurt you. You could have let them take us, Kalen turned. And for the first time, his voice cracked a little. I've let too many things happen. I've looked away before when it was someone else's child crying, someone else's wife starving. I'm not looking away again. The mother stared at him, something deep breaking inside her. All her life, she had seen men look away, walk past, spit, laugh, ignore. But this one stood like a wall between her and death. Her child ran forward, hugging Kalen's leg. Kalen froze for a second, then slowly knelt and placed a hand on the child's head. He didn't say anything, but the silence said everything. In that moment, the mother knew something had changed forever, not just in the night or the day, but in her heart. He had taken a risk for them, and in a world where people risked nothing for others, that made him more than just a man. It made him hope. The door stayed shut for hours after the guard left. The mother didn't move from the corner where she held her child. Her arms wrapped tightly around the little one, her heart still racing with fear. Her eyes kept returning to the man across the room. Kalen. He sat silently back against the wall, staring at nothing. The light from the small lamp flickered softly, making the shadows in the room dance like ghosts. Something had changed in him after the visit. Not just the fear, but something deeper, something heavier. The child, unaware of the danger, played quietly on the floor with a broken spoon and a small empty tin, giggling now and then. The sound was light, pure. The mother tried to smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Her mind was still trapped in that moment, the guard's threat echoing again and again. If I see her in the open again. She looked at Kalen and finally found the courage to ask, why did he say you were a builder? Kalen didn't answer right away. He stood up, walked over to the far wall, and reached behind a loose metal panel. With a gentle pull, It came free, revealing a hidden compartment. The mother stood slowly, holding her child close. Her body tense, unsure. Was he hiding weapons? Documents? But what came out wasn't dangerous, it was beautiful. He pulled out a glowing device. Small and round, pulsing with soft blue light. Unlike anything she had seen in years, it looked clean, untouched by war, still full of life. Kalen placed it on the table and turned to her. Before the fall of the sectors, he said, I worked on tech like this. I helped design energy cores for refugee housing units. I wanted to build safe homes, places where no child went cold at night. The mother stepped closer, her voice low. What happened? Kalen looked at the device, then away. The war happened, he said, and people turned bitter, angry. They stopped helping others. They blamed aliens for the collapse. Even though we all suffered, he touched the glowing object gently, as if it were something sacred. When the government turned, they started hunting down engineers who didn't follow their orders. I refused to work on weapons, so they stripped me of my ID and left me here in the trash. The mother's eyes widened. She had never heard a human speak like this. Never heard one admit pain, loss, or guilt. You could have escaped, she said. You're smart, you could have joined the towers, Kalen smiled. But it was a sad smile. I saw what was happening up there, he whispered. Their comfort is built on bones, and I couldn't live on top of that. She sat down slowly, her child crawling into her lap. And now you build again? He nodded. Quietly, I've been hiding tech like this, fixing it. Sometimes I trade it for food. Sometimes I give it to those who need it more than I do. The mother looked at the device again, its soft glow reflecting in her eyes. You're risking everything, she said. Just like when you gave us food. Kalen looked at her now. Really looked. You're not the first I've helped, he said. But you might be the first who stayed. She didn't know what to say to that. Her heart beat faster, not with fear this time, but something more uncertain, something warm and terrifying. Outside the wind howled, but inside there was quiet. Kalen carefully re-hid the device, sliding the panel back into place. The guards will be back, he said softly. They always come back. The mother stood, her voice stronger now. Then we'll be ready. He turned to her, surprised. We? She nodded, holding her child tighter. If I leave now, they'll find us again. Worse, they'll punish you for what you did. I don't want to run anymore. Kalen didn't speak, but a flicker of something passed through his eyes. Respect? Maybe even hope. That night he showed her more. Old tools, hidden supplies, tiny machines built from broken parts. She listened, asked questions, even helped him adjust a circuit. Her hands were clumsy, but her heart was steady. Her child played in the corner, safe, warm, full. The shelter wasn't just a place anymore. It was a beginning, a secret place where trust grew slowly, quietly, like a spark waiting to become a flame. The next morning felt different, not because the trash piles had vanished or the sky had cleared, no. The streets still smelled like rust and the broken towers still loomed above like crooked teeth. But inside the small shelter, something had changed. The mother woke up with her child still sleeping beside her, a calm look on the little face. No hunger lines tightening the cheeks, no cries echoing through the air. Just soft breathing and warmth. Kalen was already awake, working on a small solar unit near the window. Sparks flew now and then, but he didn't curse or groan like the repairmen she used to see in the old city. His hands were careful, his focus strong. It was like he was building something more than a device. He was rebuilding purpose. The mother rose slowly, stretched her sore arms, and walked over to where a kettle sat warming on the stove. She poured a bit of water into a metal cup, the steam rising gently. You didn't sleep again, she said softly. Kalen smiled without turning. Old habits, he replied. Dreams don't come easy anymore. She looked at him for a moment, then said, Last night, when you showed me those machines, you said you wanted to build homes for people like us. I did. He nodded, adjusting a wire. Still do, maybe. Then let's start with this one, she whispered. Surprising even herself, Kalen paused, looked up at her. Their eyes met, no fear, no confusion, just understanding. This place? He asked. She nodded. It's already more of a home than anything I've known in years. He didn't speak for a moment, then simply said, All right. They spent the morning cleaning what they could. Together they hung cloth sheets to separate the sleeping corner. They found more scraps to insulate the door. Kalen adjusted the heating unit to make it safer. and the mother sorted through old supplies and broken furniture, trying to create something stable. Her child helped too, carrying small items and giggling each time a piece fell over. Her laughter filled the room like music, echoing in places that had known only silence and fear. But as the sun climbed higher, a knock came at the door again. Not loud, not angry, just a single knock. Kalen's body tensed instantly. He motioned the mother to stay back, picked up a wrench, and stepped toward the door. "Who is it?" he asked through the metal. A soft voice answered. "Name's Bren. I'm from the Edge Camp." Kalen opened the door slightly. A short man with tired eyes and a dusty coat stood there, hands raised in peace. "I heard a rumor," Bren said quietly, "that you fed a starving alien child. Is it true?" Kalen didn't answer right away, but he didn't close the door either. The mother stepped forward, holding her daughter close. Bren's eyes widened slightly, but not with fear, more with surprise. "She's alive," he whispered. I didn't think anyone survived with a child in this zone." "I kept her alive," the mother said gently. "But he gave us a future." Bren looked at Kalen, then back at her. "I have others," he said, "4 families. Sick, hungry, hiding from patrols." He hesitated, then added, "If you have space, if you can spare food." Kalen didn't hesitate. "Bring them at sundown," he said. "But no noise, and only those you trust." Bren nodded, tears forming in his eyes. "Thank you. I thought no one cared anymore." When he left, Kalen turned to the mother. "This is a risk," he said. "If the guards find out, we'll all be punished." She stepped closer, holding her daughter tighter. "Then we face it together," she said. "No more running, no more hiding alone." That night, 5 more people joined them in the shelter. One was a mother with twins, another an old alien man who could barely walk. The room was crowded. The food was shared thin, but the warmth, the hope, the feeling of not being alone, that was enough. Kalen looked around the room, watching everyone eat and speak softly. His eyes landed on the first mother, the one who had been digging through trash only 2 nights ago, and he saw her smile at her daughter. He didn't say a word, but in his heart, he knew something had started here, not a revolution, not a war, but a healing. One act of kindness had grown into something more, something powerful. And in a world that had forgotten compassion, one man and an alien mother had quietly lit a spark that no one could put out. They were no longer broken pieces scattered in the dark. They were a family, and this was their new beginning.